There's no better way to celebrate the Halloween weekend than by breaking down George Lynch's iconic solo on Dokken's Dream Warriors from the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 soundtrack. Welcome to Primetime, bitch. Well, hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Uncle Ben. As you guys know, I like things that are nice. Heavy metal is nice, horror movies are nice, so the combination is extremely nice. As always, downloadable tabs for this lesson, as well as a bevy of bonus lessons, backing tracks, and more are available to everybody who supports my channel on my Patreon page at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. And while we're on the subject of Krueger & Co., if you're a fellow horror movie nerd, be sure to check out my horror movie review podcast, Dead and Lovely, which is available on every podcast service as well as Spotify. First things first, let's hear that solo again. That step bitch speed. Gear-wise, I recommend having yourself a super sweet, super strat style guitar like my Suhr Modern Satin right here. I've got that running into the MXR super badass Modified OD, which is a great little overdrive pedal I just picked up. And that's going into the Ampliphonix, Ampliphonix, and Gain amp head that I have right here, which is absolutely amazing. That's running into the Suhr Reactive Load IR box, straight into Logic, which is providing my delays and reverbs. If you're using a DOD grunge pedal for your tones, it's gonna sound best at the bottom of your trash can. And be sure to get yourself all kinds of sweet deals on nice things by clicking the Sweetwater affiliate link in the video description below. I forgot to mention too, this is in standard tuning. I see a lot of other lesson videos that show you how to play this a half step down, which I don't really get because the album is in standard. Live, they play it down a half step, they play it down a whole step. It keeps changing as the years go on. But if you want to play along with this video, just have your guitar in good old standard tuning. Yeah, first things first, George starts off here with this C note, bending up a whole step to a D. Then what you're going to do is after you've bent it up a whole step, push it up another whole step, all the way up to the note E. It's just for a second, but it sounds kind of like this. Before we return back to the original C note. Then you got to play this little trill between A and C. Then play the B note, bending up a half step to C. Then we're going to play another lick with a trill in it on the B string. So that was going from A to B, sliding down to G, hammering back on to A. Then you're going to play with your first finger here, G sliding back to A, then back to the G note again. Then we're going to switch to the first string and play this lick that has a harmony on it. It sounds like this. So as you can see, I was just walking up the scale here from D, E, F, jump up to A, back to F, then return to G, okay? Now at this point you get this quick little flurry of notes. I don't think he's picking all these. I think most of them are just hammer-ons from nowhere because they have a really smooth sound to them. So as you play this, I think he's really just starting off on E, hammer-on pull-off D to C, then go to the G string and hammer-on pull-off here from A to G. Now the harmony that's going on over that, I think is this. I'm not gonna like swear to it, but it sounds to me like it's starting off on the B string right here on the A note, and it would go like this. So that was A, C, so we skipped a scale note there, we skipped the B note, D, E, C, D, okay? And then its run just goes straight down the pentatonic scale. Same kind of idea, pick the first note, the C note here, hammer on pull off, A to G, hammer on pull off from E to D. The next licks are where the timing starts getting really tricky to follow, and it starts off here with this big bend on the B string, starting off in fret number 20, the G note. We're going to be bending that up a whole step to the note A. Now you can hear I bent it up, picked it again, let it down, and did a pull off back here to the E note on fret number 17. Happens really quickly, and it's followed by this. So that was me grabbing the B note here on the high E string, bending it up a half step to C. Then we're going to have another lick with a trill. That was A and B, sliding down to G. This seems to be one of those things that George does like all the time in his solos, little trills and slides like that. Then we're going to play this lick in the blues scale. Again, I don't think every note in there is picked. That sounds like too crispy. I think it's more like pick, pull, slide, pick, slide, like that. Something like that. And then we're going to have another big George Lynch trademark, more trills, and it's super out of time. It does not fit neatly into the measures at all. It's kind of a mess. This is one of the hardest licks in here to figure out, honestly, but it sounds something like this. Let me do that again, a little more slowly. So the first thing that we're doing is using these three notes, D, E, and F. And the way I kind of think of it is I'm going to play a downstroke on the G string D note, do another downstroke that carries through onto the E note on the B string. So it's like two downstrokes, right? Now after you hit that E note, what you're going to do is to hammer on and pull off with the F note twice. Okay, it's not just like a random super fast twitchy thing. He very specifically does two hammer on pull offs, okay? After that, play that exact same lick again. So now you got that lick twice in a row. Before you play this mess. Okay, that's the D, the E, this time without any trills though. Then when you get back to the G string right here, you're gonna go from D to B. Okay, and again, you can see right there that was a pick note, a pull off, a hammer on, a pull off. And then we're going to play this next lick right on the dots. That's what helps me kind of visualize it here. So now you should have this. And then follow that up with the 22nd fret on your B string, doing a full step bend up to the note B. Like I said, that's a super weird lick in terms of the timing and the phrasing, but I recommend learning it note for note, just like what I showed you right there. And then after you kind of get comfortable with the positions and stuff, just play it as fast as you can, and you'll probably end up right there with George. Good luck with that one. After that last high bend that you did, we're going to play this lick that centers around the A minor blues scale that has some really unusual phrasing in it. Let's check it out. So the first phrase here starts off on the B string. I'm going to have my first finger anchored here at fret number 17 on the E note. Here's the phrase. Okay, so that started off here on the E note. Grab the G up high, pulled it back off to E. Okay? After this, go back up to the G note and hit it 2 times. Now, as you're hitting that note 2 times, move your first finger down 1 fret lowlier than where you were before. So now you're going to be pulling off to fret number 16. Watch it again. I pick it twice and move my first finger down a fret, okay? After this, we get this descending run down the blues scale that's going to start off by moving your first finger back up to fret number 17. Check this out. Again, the tricky thing there is there's a few notes there at the end of the lick that are doubled up, that get struck twice. That gets a little confusing. But it starts off here just by walking down the good old blues scale. Starting out from the E note, going to the G string now. We're going to play 3 notes on this string. And again, that sounds like pick, pick, pull to me. Then going back to the 19th fret on the G right there. After that, play the 19 on the D. Now, I use 2 fingers for those kinds of licks. You might be better off using 1 and rolling it like that, but I've always just been more accurate whenever I use 2 fingers like that. Then on the G, we're going to do this little chromatic walk-up where we play C, the minor third, C sharp, the major third, a little contradiction there, but sounds cool and bluesy, then back up to the note D again. So now you got this. After that, pull off to the C note and pick it. So again, there's a doubled up note. Then play the root note A here, 2 times in a row. So that entire section right there is going to sound something like this. After that, you guys know what time it is. It's trill time, bitch. This is a very George Lynch kind of lick. Check this one out. So I start off there on the G note. Little hammer on and pull off with A here on the 4th string, the D string there. Then I'm grabbing the C note right under it there. Now that's the first little blast of notes. Here's the second one. So that is the, what is that, a high D note, pulling off to C on the G string here. Rolling back down here to grab the D string on the same fret. Okay? Then that was all on the G. Sliding up, then back down. So you got the first blast of notes. Second one, pull off, slide. Then we get another harmony lick. This one was a nightmare to try to transcribe because there's a few notes in the main part that I'm going to play here that I think were kind of a dud, where he didn't really like strike it exactly right or maybe fret the note right. So there's a few notes in here that are a little iffy. And then to make matters even weirder, the harmony that's going on that's higher up here at the the dusty frets of the neck is really strange, and it seems to kind of linger on its bend longer than the main guitar does and just catches a few notes. It's really kind of a mess, and that's not a problem. It sounds absolutely cool on the record whenever you hear it, but it just makes YouTube music nerds like myself, rip our hair out whenever we're trying to figure out how to play this stuff exactly. So it sounds really cool, but I think there are some happy accidents floating around in there. Let's do that again slowlier. Okay, that's kind of an odd one here. Starting off with the E and F and A and B notes here on the top 2 strings. Then half step bend. Now at this point is where things get kind of weird. I think he was trying to do like a sequence kind of lick like that, but there's one note in there that gets doubled up that kind of throws the pattern off. I kind of think of this lick as being 2 different sets of 16th notes. Here's the first 4 notes. Pretty standard stuff, A, B, G, A. But then the next set of 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, starts off on that exact same note. So this A note gets hit twice in a row. It's the last note of the first group, and it's the first note of the second group. Now whenever you start this second group of notes, it feels kind of like a D minor arpeggio. A, F, D, and then roll your first finger here onto the G and B string so you can grab E and then C, okay? After you hit that C note, grab the D note. So now you should have this. You can see that concluded there with a high 22nd fret bend on the B string, bending up to the note B. For bitch. Now as for the harmony, again, it doesn't really stick to it note by note. The bend that you hit on top lasts longer than the main guitar's bend, and it eventually kind of catches up right whenever guitar number 1 is doing that kind of D minor descending phrase. it sounds something kind of like this. So that was walking up the scale here, starting off on A. So we're going to go A, B, C, D, bend up to a high E. And again, that bend just holds and sits there until when guitar 1 is doing its kind of descending triad lick. Guitar 2, as near as I can tell, I'm not going to swear on this, but it sounds like it's playing down this right here. It kind of feels like an F arpeggio, which makes sense because that's musically a third above the D minor arpeggio. So this F arpeggio is going to have C, A, F, there's your F triad, go back to the note G, and then on the G string here we're going to play E and F. That's really hard to play because those frets are so bunched up. And then conclude that with a big Dave Mustaine special right there, the 22nd fret on the high E, whole step bend. After the harmony, we get a couple more nice melodic licks before that huge tapping frenzy at the end. Let's check those phrases out. First phrase starts off here on a D note. Then we're going to walk down the scale here from C to A. Now you'll notice that again, there's a doubled up A note right there. Hold off to it, and then picked it again. And then we move into this phrase. Now you can see I slid in there to the B note, then used the same finger to grab the C note on the G string. So just a half step away from each other right there. Skip down to E on the B string, so I'm kind of bridging that finger. Then I'm going to walk down, 3 notes on the G right here. D, C, and B. Then I'm going to grab the B string here on fret number 20 for a full step bend that I bring back down to pitch. And then grab the G string here on the fret behind it, fret number 19, which is our D note. Follow that up with a big old juicy bend on your 20th fret B string, up a whole step to the note A. Before we do this tapping frenzy that, again, I am not going to swear is note for note. This is one of those like learn the pattern and just kind of go for it licks. Again, he never plays it the same way live, so it's hard to say. But this feels about right and feels accurate to what George would play. But you know, anytime you're doing these super fast tapping licks like Van Halen style, there's always going to be a little margin of error where maybe you didn't get all 3 notes here the first time, but you do the second time, that kind of thing. So use this as an outline, and again, if you floor it, play it as fast as you can, it'll probably end up sounding just fine. It's really hard to say for sure if that's how he is ending that lick. I feel like the wind-up is right, but the very end of it is hard to tell. Because whenever the drums and everything come back in, the lead guitar gets kind of buried in the mix, and the notes are going by so fast. It's a little hard to say. But one thing that I can tell is after that last like big hit on the drums, you can hear the lead guitar ending on this C note and sustaining that under the vocals. So that kind of indicates to me that he's running that pattern down, then taking it back up a string like what I did to end on the C note. I see some covers and lessons of this that have you playing that pattern running all the way down to the E, and even like coming down here to end back up in the first position to play the riff and stuff. I'm not saying that's wrong, but you can hear it end on this C note and hold that out. So I'm just assuming he's taking the tapping lick back a string like what I'm going to show you here. To help you visualize this, let's talk about the left hand part, because it's going to be outlining essentially what feels like maybe an F Lydian scale, or you could think of it as a 3 note per string C scale. Either way, it's just all the natural notes and stuff. The left hand figure is going to look like this. On the high E string, you're going to have 13, 12, and 10. Notice I'm not using my little finger there. Don't call the pinky police on me. Same thing on the B string. On the G and D, we're going to have a symmetrical pattern here. It's going to be 12, 10, and 9 on both those strings. And then on your A, you're going to stretch out wide here to get 12, 10, and 8. A, G, F, okay? If we went down to the E, you'd have the same fingering down there too. So if you want to play it that way, that's where you'd continue this lick out. Now on top of all those 3 note per string figures, George is adding in 2 tapped notes on every string. On the high E string and B string, the tap note is going to be on 15. And then on all the other strings, it's going to be on 14. So the right hand has 15s and 14s under it. If you choose to take the lick down to the low E, move it down to 13. Otherwise, you'll end up on an F sharp note there if you use 14 on that too. The first lick starts off with the tapped note. Then you're going to pull off to the 10 on the high E. Hammer your way up its other two notes. Tap again. And then descend down the 3 notes that you already have. So it's like tap, walk up, tap, walk down. But only that string is played that way. Because all the other ones are more of just a blur of tap, walk down, walk up, tap, walk down. It's kind of an irregular number of notes to cram into a lick. Again, just mash as fast as you can, and you should be okay. Continue that onto the notes on the G string here, so you're going to have the 9, 10, and 12 in your left hand, the 14 on your right hand. Same thing on the D, same thing on the A, and then go back to the D and end on that C note right there. Again, that's my guess anyway. Whenever I play that, I try to feel like my right hand doing the tapping is like the metronome that my left hand plays to. Because even though it is all these, weird note groupings, the right hand is keeping straight eighth notes throughout there. So you can kind of rely on that to help you keep the beat and pace those notes with your fretting hand. Let's hear it again from the top. So we're going to start off with those big old bends on the B string. First harmony lick right here. Pentatonic flurry. Crazy George Lynch spasm. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments section below what other classic George Lynch / Dokken solos you guys would like to learn on a future installment of Weekend Wank Shop. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for new content coming at you every single week, and ring the bell for notifications every time I upload a new slice of fried gold. If you want to get the downloadable tabs plus access to all kinds of bonus goodies as well as a community of awesome folks just like yourself, be sure to support my channel over on patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Even for the low cost of $1 a month, you get access to all kinds of cool stuff. So be sure to click the Patreon link in the video description below. Hope everybody out there in TV land has a fun and safe Halloween weekend and that you have enough time to sit down and grind this solo out. It's pretty challenging, but I know you can do it. Less clicking, more picking.